Stevens, meteorologist Herb Stevens, a skiing weatherman. It is Wednesday the 14th. I'm here for Snocountry and on Snocountry.com with a pattern overview for the eastern half of the country. In the past 5 or 6 weeks, I've been covering the west and the east in the same video. Takes too long. I can't expect anybody to listen to me talk for that long, so we're cutting it in half. We've got a western version. Now we have a version that covers the Midwestern ski areas and those that are located in the eastern United States. And this segment is brought to you by the nice folks at UVEX. You need goggles. You need a helmet. I've been wearing their stuff for 20 years. I love it, and I would highly recommend it. And I'll give you the URL, the web address for it, a little bit later on so you can check out their gear. In the headlines, well, this is the time of year when climatologically a break in the winter pattern in the form of a thaw is favored. There you can see the spike in the temperatures in most eastern locations right around the 17th to the 21st, 22nd of January. It doesn't happen every year, but it happens often enough that you can see that trend in the record of temperatures. What about this year? Well, we got good news, and I'll get to that shortly. The highs at the surface and troughs aloft are going to keep the cold air coming to the Midwest and to the Northeast over the course of the next 10 days. A week ago, I thought we were looking at a warm-up of 4 or 5 days. That's going to get cut off at the pass. There are no big storms in sight, I don't believe, for about a week. And as we transition into a colder pattern after about a week from now, colder than the next week's going to be, there is some potential for what I call a cutter, and that's a storm that would go up through the eastern Great Lakes. It would be great news for the ski areas in the northern Great Lakes, not so great in the east. We'll get to that in a moment as well. This is a map of watches and warnings and advisories of the National Weather Service across the country, and you talk about a quiet pattern. There's hardly anything going on. There's a little winter weather advisory here around Chesapeake Bay as low pressure scoots out in this general direction. There's been a little light snow down here in the mid-Atlantic today. It is not coming up into the Northeast. Unfortunately, the jet stream shows a system out here in the Southwest. It's produced some snow in New Mexico and Arizona today. The last couple of days, there's been pretty good snow from the Wasatch down to the Arizona Snow Bowl outside of Flagstaff. But this system is weakening as it comes to the east. Meanwhile, we've got a shortwave trough here across the western Great Lakes, and we're going to see a number of these little features, a little kink in the flow aloft that will keep pivoting southeastward over the course of the next week, and each one will reinforce the cold, bring about the possibility of some lake effect snow near the lakes, mountain snow showers in the mountains of the Northeast, maybe down to as far as the mountains of West Virginia as the flow goes northwesterly and becomes perpendicular to the Appalachians. But it's basically a dry pattern. We don't have a deep trough that can access deep moisture to the south, and until that changes, any snow we get here is going to be kind of nickel and dime stuff for the most part, as I see it for the next week or so. We still have some semblance of an Arctic connection in place, and the air coming down into the lakes, the Northeast, and to some extent to the Mid-Atlantic is pretty darn cold. This is the way the snow cover goes right now, and that snow cover is critical in getting the overnight lows to drop down as low as possible, and over the course of the next 2 weeks, I think we're going to see that snow cover expand. But for now, it's a pretty good snow cover, and it's helping the snowmakers out as they take advantage of the cold, dry air that's in abundance. Now, by Friday morning, another sharp shortwave is going to move into the Northeast. It is not going to phase with a shortwave in the southern branch, so we won't have a big storm, but we are going to see colder air get reinforced with some mountain snow showers and snow showers through the Great Lakes as we move through Friday. And that's going to set the stage for a jet stream pattern that favors a weak, broad ridge on Saturday morning. You might say, oh, it's a ridge, it's going to get warm. Well, it might turn a little bit milder later Saturday as we start the MLK weekend, but Saturday morning, the core of the cold air is going to be over northern New England, and temperatures will be down below zero in most locations up there underneath this high-pressure ridge. But you can see a southwesterly flow starting to push somewhat milder air into the ski areas of the eastern lakes in the Northeast as we go into the weekend. And I think Sunday is going to be a mild day, and then this trough, as it comes through the Great Lakes on Sunday, is going to set off showers of predominantly snow, maybe some rain as you move down towards Chicago, but it'll be changing to snow. And in the Northeast, I think we'll see showers of rain and snow with the higher elevations, almost all snow, and there is some suggestion that as this feature digs in, we may have a low pressure center run up about like that, and that could bring a more significant or substantial snowfall to parts of northern New England, especially the White Mountains and the mountains of Maine, Sunday night and Monday, with rain in southern New England, not heavy, I don't believe, changing to snow, and then another chunk of cold air comes in by Monday night, as you can see with the 5,000-foot temperatures. There's a core of it over the Adirondacks, still cold over the upper Midwest and down to the central Appalachians, so we've got more opportunities for the snowmakers. Now, over the course of the next 7 days, this is the way snowfall breaks down according to the GFS model. That's the one that's used for all your point-and-click forecasts. And you can see that the mountains are in line for some fairly moderate snow, but I think this is overdone, to be honest with you, in the Adirondacks and northern New England. I think you're looking at single-digit accumulations in most locations over the next 7 days. The Canadians more bullish on the snow, but I think that's just overstating it a little bit. They're talking about 8, 9, 10 inches where you see these oranges. Again, I don't think there'll be enough moisture to do that, but a couple of these each passing cold front that I mentioned with the shortwave troughs will be capable of producing a couple of inches of snow, and that's the sort of pattern we're in for one more week. Now, 10 days from now, it looks as though a ridge will be getting even stronger in the west, a trough in eastern North America. This leads to colder weather, and there is a model suggestion 9 days from now, I think that would be Friday, Saturday, the 23rd, 24th, of a coastal storm. Don't know if that's fantasy land or reality, but I do think that's the next shot as a significant storm in the eastern United States. At 10 days, I want to show you the 5,000-foot temperatures and draw your attention to this air mass out here coming across Lake Superior. Once we get to the last few days of this month, it's going to be cold. There's no getting around it, and it is going to be the kind of cold that's going to force you to wear an extra layer, but skiers and riders know all about that, and we're not going to be scared by all the pretty people in the suits on television trying to tell us to stay in our houses. 15 days from now, the setup will be good. There'll be a ridge in the west, northwesterly flow, pretty good trough in the east, and we could see some storminess as we move into early February, but the cold is going to dominate going forward. Western ridge, eastern trough, that configuration is going to dominate in the next couple of weeks. Surface highs are going to keep any warm-up at bay, and it is going to warm up in the plain states next week, but not in the lakes or the northeast. The Appalachians, central and southern Appalachians, will be on a bit of a roller coaster as we go through the next week. But even there, as the trough digs in, the cold is going to dig deep into the south, all the way down to Sugar and Beach in North Carolina for sure, day 10 and beyond. That's it for now. Kind of a quiet pattern, but we are going to avoid a January thaw. And as I said, if you're in the market for goggles or a helmet, check out uvex-sports.com. I'm Herb Stevens, a skiing weatherman for Snocountry.com. Next report coming up on the 21st. Take care.